Norfolk Naval Base, Virginia 4, June 1943. The boards are slick, the air tastes like rust and salt. This is a war harbor, but nothing here behaves like war. They work side by side, women on cranes, children at the gate, die spinnin', die Amerikaner. They must be crazy. An enemy's uniform draws no panic here. Only schedules, whistles, and a city that keeps moving. 3 years of propaganda, undone in a single morning. This port moves more in a morning than Hamburg could in a week. But it wasn't the scale that stunned them. It was the normalcy.
Coffee, donuts, with inside of warships.
A nation at war that refused to act like it. By June 1945, America held over 425,000 Axis prisoners of war, 371,000 Germans, 50,000 Italians, about 5,000 Japanese across more than 650 camps nationwide. Texas alone, 90,000. Norfolk was the gateway. According to the Geneva Convention of 1929, you have rights. You will be fed, clothed, and treated as soldiers. Do you have any dietary needs?
They must be mocking us, right?
It wasn't mockery, it was policy.
Move
the
along.
1929
Next.
Geneva
Danke.
Convention recognized POW rights, shelter, food, medical care. It allowed senior captured officers to act as intermediaries. This became the
Die
foundation
Bedingungen
for
unserer
America's
Gefangenschaft
unusual
sind
model,
unverändert.
prisoner self-governance. In 1943, penicillin supplies were still scarce. By late 43 and 44, U.S. production expanded, making it possible even for enemy prisoners to receive the same miracle drug. African-American medical staff served POWs at Norfolk, but the U.S. military itself remained segregated in 1943. Full integration came only after 1948. Enemies who had tried to kill each other at sea now ate the same meals in the same hall. The
you see the
Americans seemed to
scores from
care more
yesterday's
about
game?
baseball scores
I bet
than
the
about
Tigers won.
uniforms sitting 50 feet away. The same platform hosted soldiers bound for war and prisoners who had fought them weeks earlier, separated only by
along, keep it
windows,
going.
and guards more interested in directing
Over here,
traffic
now.
than watching enemies. In
My
Germany,
God!
such factories would be camouflaged. Here, they were labeled in giant letters, in plain sight of their enemies. Steel mills burning through the night. Individual homes, gardens, radios in every window. A landscape of industry and abundance.
He throws away half an apple and opens another. Our men fought over crusts in...
In one careless gesture, the abundance of America spoke louder than any victory parade. Camp Hearn held up to 4,800 men. Electric lights in the barracks, hot water heaters in each building, mattresses, actual mattresses, with sheets. A recreation hall with ping-pong tables, musical instruments, even a library. You will govern
We have
yourselves
received
within the
news of the
compound.
unconditional
Elect your
surrender of
spokesman.
German
Organize
forces.
your schedules. Keep your barracks in
war.
order.
You will be treated as soldiers,
not as cattle.
not
Self-governance
as
for
cattle.
enemies. Geneva allowed senior POWs to act as intermediaries. The Americans
consider
stretched
our
that principle
options
into
carefully.
something larger, an experiment in self-rule inside barbed wire.
We await your
Books that could
command,
cost a
Colonel.
life back home now
Here you
cataloged,
go.
stamped, and lent with a smile. Hearn was generous and complicated. It also became a hub where die-hard Nazis tried to organize. The camp offered libraries and hot water, and it struggled with ideology. Appendicitis, hours from rupture. The American surgeon worked quickly. German POW medics assisted. A vial penicillin glinted under the light. In late 1942, penicillin in America could treat fewer than 100 patients. By September 1943, production began meeting Allied military needs. In 1944, output exploded. And now, a German prisoner received the same miracle drug as an American soldier.
They inject me as if I'm one of their own.
A camp store where enemies shopped with scrip earned from labor, cigarettes, soap, paper and ink, a harmonica for the homesick, a violin for the stubborn romantic. America had a labor shortage. The War Manpower Commission sent POWs into fields, canneries, gins, non-military work. 80 cents a day, paid in camp, script the same base rate as an American private. Productivity came from decent treatment, schedules, and lunch breaks, not from the lash. It violated everything the Wehrmacht had taught them about discipline.
They manage men with coffee and pay stubs.
825,000 acres, bigger than Rhode Island, a place where planes check herds from above.
So much replaced by machines, and by people working side by side, who would never work side by side at home.
The Nazi ladder of races collapsed under the weight of Texas sun and American pragmatism. A job done is a job done. Temporary employees, not mortal enemies. Degenerate music, they were told. Here, it sounded like life itself. Women drove trucks, signed pay slips, supervised crews, flew military aircraft. Strength did not cancel femininity.
They sing to us in our language while their sons fight ours.
Kindness
Cheers.
wasn't weakness.
Merry Christmas.
It was the confidence of victors who knew they had already won not just the war, but the peace that would follow. The feast was said to reach 5,000 calories per man. The Christmas tree, 30 feet tall. Local papers recorded the donations, the music, the lights. The exact numbers? Worth checking against quartermaster menus and photographs. The feeling? Undeniable. Mercy, as a way of war. Early 1944, correspondence courses expanded.
They sing
Professors
to us
visited monthly
in our
for
language
lectures and exams.
while their
The
sons
library
fight
swelled
ours.
past 5,000 volumes, some by authors the Nazis had banned. Thomas Mann remarked, Jewish writers shelved openly. Not all papers were alike. At Fort Kearny, Rhode Island, the Special Projects Division launched a newspaper, Der Ruf the Call, and shipped it to roughly 140 camps. Ideas traveled faster than trains. They categorized, they measured, they nudged. Anti-Nazis were given microphones. The non-political were given conversations. The ardent were isolated, argued with, and tired out. In America, even waste seemed organized. Even criticism of the war was public. The free press turned the camp into a classroom without walls.
If they can fight a war and argue about it on the radio, what else can they do?
What else can they do? Under the Texas sun, through books and work and music and meals, ideas did what bullets could not. They crossed over. Normal life, the deadliest weapon against the lie. Next would come something even stranger to a soldier's mind. Criticism of generals on the radio, an election in the middle of a war, and the realization that democracy's chaos is not a weakness, but its armor. They expected silence. Instead, they found cartoons mocking the commander-in-chief, comedians joking about generals, newspapers criticizing war policy. In America, democracy grew stronger through disagreement. At times, the enemy enjoyed more social freedom than the guard watching him. A German prisoner could eat where a black American soldier could not. Segregation was America's shadow. Yet even within the camps, prisoners saw the direction of change, the paradox of injustice alongside undeniable progress. Butcher, once convinced of Nazi destiny, wrote that Christmas 1943 cracked his certainty. He immigrated in 1953, became a citizen, and worked as an engineer at General Motors. Georg Gärtner escaped in 1945, lived 4 decades as Dennis F. Wiles, married, raised children, revealed himself only in 1985. By then, he had been American longer than German. Reinhold Pabel hid in Chicago, ran a bookstore, wrote Enemies Are Human. He too became a citizen. Out of 425,000 German prisoners, escape was rare. Sabotage rarer still. Most worked willingly, 87% volunteered. Not all was peaceful. At Camp Tonkawa, hardline Nazis murdered an anti-Nazi prisoner. 5 were hanged after trial. The American system allowed self-rule, but it came with risks. Courses prepared them not just for survival, but for rebuilding. Administration, agriculture, public health, engineering. Skills carried home to a Germany in ruins. From barbed wire to ballots, from labor in Texas to leadership in Bonn. Victory was not just military, it was ideological. And it was won not through lectures or propaganda, but through daily life itself. Victory on ideas through ordinary life. Not through destruction, but through demonstration. Not through propaganda, but through reality. Not through hatred, but through humanity. They arrived as enemies. They left as neighbors. Some even returned as citizens. America's quiet victory was not just on battlefields, but in camps where humanity itself proved stronger than ideology. From enemy to ally, from prisoner to citizen,